everybody, and welcome to another walkthrough of the Textguides with me and RJTV. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, what's going on, man? Awesome to be back here in the chair again.
Awesome. Yeah, I must say it feels a little bit weird. This is first video I record since I come home from the sunny Cyprus. I must say it's very cold here in Sweden. Do you have cold weather there as well in
Yeah,
yeah.
we do, but like literally me complaining to someone who lives in Sweden about cold weather is laughable. So,
Yeah, it's time here to start using proper jackets. It's time to actually start waiting for. Jennifer actually mentioned yesterday that we're probably gonna see snow soon, and yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised. It's such a weird country when it comes to weather. But that doesn't matter. We are having the sun on here on on the video at least. And as for those of you watching, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, both mine and also obviously to its RJTV. If you do want to get the text guide for the tournament, you can find the link in the video description down below. And for those of you that do want to invest a little bit more in text guide and want to have the updated text guides, you get them through patreon.com/golfclashtommy. And we're not making a live stream this time around, as RJ is gonna go and celebrate his brother turning 30. So therefore, this is very early for me, very late for RJ, so hope you still enjoy it. In this walkthrough, we go over all the divisions. We are going to give you our thoughts on the course. If that thought doesn't match yours, please make a comment, and we would love to see what type of way you are playing the course. If you do that, don't just say no, I don't play it like that. Please explain, because we learn from each other. So we do have the Monster Marsh Tournament on the text guide. There is one, I want to make one disclaimer here, and that is that looking at the tours where you can find the courses are slightly wrong on some. And slightly wrong is there isn't a way to practice from Master Tee from the third tee. So there's only Tour 4 for Rookie, Tour 7 for Pro and Expert. So really have that in mind so you're not getting fooled by some of the typos on some of the text guides. So, yeah, I guess, RJ, we're gonna jump in to the action directly with hole number 1, and we're actually starting with a par 3. That's not often, so I'm very interested to hear how do we get a good score on hole number 1.
all right, let's see if I can get through this with all this jet lag from being on Sweden time. All right, so first off, it's very important to know on all par 3s what the elevation is, and the elevation on this particular hole is 10%. Personally, after the last tournament, I am not a huge fan of rough bumps. I missed quite a few. I think my head was somewhere else. So I am going to highly recommend the black line. And with that, a backbone would be perfectly fine. I would also go with a navigator, full left spin, and bounce right on over to the pin.
From Pro and Expert Tee, we're gonna start there. We will be using either 0 or 10% in elevation. And the reason I say both is you can find an adjustment that works for both. In the video, I suggest 10%, and that's why I wanted to mention that, even though it says 0 here on the guide. 0 or 10 doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just that it's a different way to get to the end result. And here we are going to play with the rough bump, or play for the rough bump. It's perfect for a sniper, as we're going to be in somewhat mid-club range playing with the sniper here. And the reason I suggest the rough bump is that the rough bump is actually pretty big. And the only thing that we need to think about here is once we drop down, let's say we have a wind left to right, which means that we're going to adjust down into the water. That means that we go from a higher point to a lower point. Then we need to push up our target 1 ring. And push up target means that you turn the screen around again, so the ball guideline is pointing straight forward. So you're basically having the same view as you would be having when you're taking your shot. So then you push it up towards the pin 1 ring. That's super important, as in the world and the game of Golf Clash, it works like that. When you drop from a higher point to a lower point, you're going to lose distance. That's the same if you go from a lower point to a higher point, you're going to gain distance. a very important knowledge that is applicable obviously on other courses as well. But here, when we play for the rough bump, very important. I'm gonna use somewhat, like, as it's a long green, we're gonna go with all from 0 to 2 bars of topspin depending on what type of wind that we're going to have. Playing from the third tee, we are going to play with either a driver, if we're using a more wind resistant ball, or like with a less power ball, like a wind 5 power 1, wind 5 power 0, then we play with a driver. If we're going to play with a power 3 ball, then we would be playing with a wood club. And here obviously the wind decides a lot. If the wind is possible for us to play with a rough bump, we're gonna play with a rough bump. Other than that, we're going to play with just a approach bouncing up towards the pin. And then also for especially the par 3s here in this tournament, Golf Clash has evened out the greens, because some of them are a little bit bumpy. Not this one though, this one is pretty okay, but the other par 3s have that in mind, as if you have played them before, you probably remember that the greens are very bumpy. And yes, side spin I would say is very important when it comes to the ball. Very important, as if we do have a wind left to right, we do want to have side spin 2 minimum to kick our ball into the left, so we don't have to go with curl. I do see this one as we do have a rough bump, and a rough bump is always good when it comes to getting the hole-in-one, and therefore I do think this is going to be a good chance for a hole-in-one eventually. Not maybe day one, but eventually it's going to be a good chance for a hole-in-one. So, RJ, hole number 2, how do we play that one from front tee?
All right, man, I got to get my head right. We just covered math and science with the trajectory and everything. So, at 3 o'clock in the morning, no less.
Boom.
Here we go. Hole number 2 is another 10%er. I like the black line here. With the black line, I would go with an extra mile and a quasar. Put full right spin on so you can avoid the sand, but also so you don't have to aim so close to the rough right there. And my dog loves kicking this water bottle around. I don't know if that's picking that up. Sorry about that. So full right spin, full top spin. I say full top spin because we have so much room there, but I would go no more than probably 5 top spin just to play it safe, especially with a headwind. I'm sorry, a tailwind. And then your second shot is also going to be 10%. Depending on how far you get up, I would say you're going to be using either a Thorn or your Saturn. Bring something with backspin.
Yes, here from second tee, we do have first and foremost the white line that I can cover. If we do have a straight tailwind, and we do have a wind that is at least 8 or 9 miles per hour, and with a power 5 ball, we can go for green directly. I would be sad if we see that type of wind, because then it removes all types of, not all type, but a lot of skill needed to drop it from distance. But obviously, if we do have a straight tailwind, we do have a power 5 ball, then we go for it. Then we're just gonna go and try to land it on green. If we do have any other type of wind, we're gonna play according to the black line. Bounce it over the water, gain distance. Second shot, we approach the pin as RJ explained. We're going with either a short iron or a long iron, but backspin is important there, as we do have a very bumpy fairway before the green starts, and I'd rather want us to bounce on the fringe or on the green to have a more consistent first bounce. If we play from the third tee, we play left root black line. If we do have a tailwind or a crosswind. But let's say that we do have a headwind, we will have a problem going for either white line, fully play the black line. Also, the orange line that is here on the screen is also a tough one, because we do have tree in our face if we go too much to the right. So the thing that I would suggest that isn't really explained in the guide is lay up short. You play and lay up with the first black marker as a plan. Then you approach the pin with a wood club from distance. It's a tough shot though, but it's going to not require any overpower whatsoever. So then you can kind of secure the birdie and give yourself a little chance for the eagle by lay up short. If we do have a straight headwind or a tough headwind, that means that we cannot reach out there to the left. And when we play from the second tee, I would obviously with a straight tailwind, berserker, or a snow globe, some type of style like wind 0, wind 1, power 5. And then when we do have from normal type of wind, we play with a power 3 ball, Kingmaker or a Titan. And if we do from the 30 had like normal wind, we play with a Kingmaker, maybe even a dead ball, like a power 4 ball. Give yourself the distance. Also, obviously, if we do have a straight tailwind, needs to be said, from the 30, we can have wind all from, you know, with a snow globe with 16 to 19 miles per hour. Obviously, we can try to go for green on with that type of wind as well. But once again, I do not hope that we're gonna have a straight tailwind. I hope we need to lay up and then approach the pin from distance. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go to hole number 3. This is a course that has been in the game as long as I can remember. It's gonna be interesting to see your take on hole number 3, my friend.
My take is the black line, 10% adjustment. I would also bring the quarterback just so you know exactly where your ball guide is and you have that excellent accuracy. I would bring a quasar, and with that quasar, I would go with full right spin and 3 or more top spin on the right side, as I had mentioned. And then that's going to set us up for a nice little Viper shot. Although with my Viper, I actually have us bouncing over the rough instead of landing on the opposite side of the rough. If you can land on the rough right next, not the rough, I'm sorry, on the fairway before the green, by all means do it. But I think normally if you're going to be using a quarterback, you're not going to be able to reach. So that's why I have us bouncing over. And then with your Viper, it is 1 to 2 top spin, and left spin is going to help you stay away from the rough right next to his black box there, because we'll be coming in at a little different angle.
Pretty interesting par 5 in my opinion, where we do have a very flat green. A green that slopes slightly right to left, but it's flat. And when we do have a flat green, we can rely on the ball guideline in a better way, and therefore we're going to see more albatrosses than normally on par 5s. So when we can start first by talking about like a straight tailwind approach. If we do have a straight tailwind approach, you that do have an Apocalypse level 5+ is going to have an advantage. Why? Or like, let's say Thor's Hammer level 6, 7, or Apocalypse 5+ is going to have an advantage. And the reason why is because then you can actually go for the second black marker directly and try to reach the green in 1. If you do have less topspin than 6 bars topspin, you're going to have a very, very tough time to reach to the green. So therefore you're going to have an advantage if you have more topspin than that. I just wanted to have it said because obviously if we do have a straight tailwind, we will see people trying to do that. There is also a power slice being able to be done on the left hand side if the wind is still straight tailwind and you feel more comfortable going with a power slice than trying to go with a normal curl shot going to the right. Up to you to decide what you feel comfortable with. But if there is a tailwind, second tee or third tee, we are going to try to go for green. But once again, I don't hope for that because once again, it's not as skillful to drive the green. You know, don't get me wrong, but it's not. We want to lay up and then approach the pin from distance. If we do have from second tee a crosswind, or we do have a headwind, or we maybe have a tailwind and we don't feel comfortable, or we don't have the club to go for green, we bounce according to the black line, use as much side spin to the right possible with 4 to 6 bars topspin and land it nicely on the fairway island. 10% extra for the drive, approach the pin without elevation. The sniper is the key club to have there as for the very good ball guideline. Master Tee, the same type of thing. The only thing to have in mind, with a straight headwind, you will have to play with minimum a power 4 ball, because otherwise you will not be able to reach over the water. Very important to have in mind. But the reason I know that is because we have had this hole so many times in the tournaments, and one time we actually had a straight headwind, and playing that with a power 3 ball was like bye bye. It was not enough. Even with a perfect shot and using a lot of topspin, you didn't reach over. As for the headwind, compress the ball guideline so much. Otherwise we play just the same, bounce on the fairway, over to the other fairway, and then approach the pin with a sniper. Here we can, in Master, actually make ourselves play with a more wind resistant ball, like a Centurion, And we can also play maybe even with like a turkey ball or something like that that reduce the wind a lot, as we don't really need that much distance with our drive if we do have crosswind or a tailwind type of wind for the drive. A lot of information about this hole, but it's always like that when we play this hole so many times. So we're gonna roll over to hole number 4, and here's a par 4 that plays like a par 3, right?
Yes, definitely. And speaking of courses that we've all seen, I think this has been in quite a few different tournaments also. And this is one of my favorites, but it used to be one of the ones I dreaded the most. One thing that has really helped me is knowing it's a 20% adjustment. If you don't adjust the full 20%, you definitely are going to hit the wrong area, not the area that you're actually looking to land. I would go with an extra mile and a Titan. Full right spin, 1 to 2 top spin, and go for the rough bump, just like it shows on the white line. I think that's your best chance of getting of getting a hole in one. Ain't that right? uh, and then as far as if that shot is not available, maybe there's a headwind, maybe you don't have the club to really reach there, that black line is there. And the only thing you need to make sure of when you're going with the black line is that you use a club with a lot of distance, but also 2.5 minimum backspin. And again, full left spin. You might want to use a katana or something to get you a little bit more left spin because you don't want to curl it. There's no reason for that. As me and Tommy were talking beforehand, if you get your first bounce on the fairway, it's just going to skip and go. So that's the way I would play number 4.
Yes, from Pro and Expert T, we will not be having the distance for the rough bump, so that's kind of out of play. So the thing that we're gonna do is focus on the 20% extra. And for those of you that aren't really understanding elevation that much, please check out the elevation guide that I do have here on my channel, and you will hear and also understand why elevation is so important to adjust for. And the thing that we're gonna do is that we're going to use a power 3 ball. And yes, we can use a power 2 ball and we can use power 1 ball, but then we will have to go with overpower, most likely. So I would suggest a power 3 ball, use as much side spin to the left possible, and then we're gonna bounce over the bunker. Minimum 2.5 bar backspin, even from the second tee. I would also stretch that to, if we do have a straight tailwind, I would stretch that to minimum 3 bars backspin with your driver. That's because we do want to get the ball to stop before the rough. And you know, that's gonna be a must. Like, if we get the ball to bounce over the bunker and roll into the rough, you know, that's gonna cause a big problem for you, as then you know, you all know how hard it is to hit perfect from the rough. Like, I hate the rough, I hate the sand, because I can never seem to hit perfect, but from the fairway or from the fringe, I can hit perfect basically every time. So that's a very important thing. And I'm not playing this one for the green. You will see players trying to play very aggressive to go for the pin here. But I'm not. I'm just lay up, take my eagle, because the chance of getting a hole-in-one on this par 4 is, it's such a small percentage that's gonna get that why push it too hard and risk that we are bouncing and get like a glitchy roll on the green and roll over the rough. Then I'm just gonna lay up on the side, like on the right side of the green, take an easy wedge, make my eagle all day and every day, and just go forward to hole 5. Same type of thing for hole 4 for Master. The only thing to have in mind there, if we do have a headwind, which we actually have had the last 2 tournaments, then we cannot reach over the bunker if we're not being very lucky. I remember we played it all from trying to bounce with topspin into the bunker to bounce up, all from double bounce it over the sand to make some type of a power hook to bounce in the rough to roll out. You know, there has been a multiply stuff that has been played. But I would say in a headwind, we use a more wind resistant ball, we play it up to the top right, and we go for the dunk. That would be my suggestion for Master T there. Elevation adjustment, once again, 20% extra. And if you lay up from Master T and playing that shot towards spin, you play without elevation. You're not adding or subtracting anything for elevation when it comes to the second shot, if that's needed. But obviously, when we have a wedge or something like that, we just play that one by feel. Don't aim outside the cup. Like, that's basically it. So yes, hole number 4, very good chance, should be an eagle, or like as I normally say, a must eagle. Hole number 5, and as I reminded RJ on, he dropped a beautiful albatross on this one the last time we had this on the tournament, and I'm interested why I'm the one that remembered that and he is not, but you know, it's but I remember weird stuff.
You see the gray hairs? You just wait a few years and your memory will be just like mine.
True.
Hole number 5. Okay, now I know a lot of people are seeing that white line and they're like, no brainer. And for a lot of people, it will be a no brainer in terms of bringing an extra mile, a power 3 ball, full top spin, and making that second shot a little bit easier. However, because I am covering rookie, I just feel the black line is a safer line. We are going to adjust 10% left or right. And I'm recommending we take the quarterback on the right side and kind of lay up there a little bit with a marlin ball. And I would put full left spin on to try to get you just a little bit closer to that little like fish hook or whatever, kind of looks like a V. We want to be the inside of the V. Maybe a quarter ball of left curl, and 6 top spin would be the max that I would go. Trust the ball guide. We're bringing a quarterback for a reason, accuracy and ball guide. Once you get there, you can go with a Viper shot where you see that third black box right by the bushes up by the pin there, with anywhere from 0 to 2 backspin, depending on the wind that they're going to give us. Bounce over the rough and hopefully into the cup.
Yes, second tee. I would say like this: we choose the route that gives us the best win for the second shot. And what does that mean? That means that, let's say we would be having a straight headwind or a straight tailwind for the second shot going by the white line. I would say that the white line would be my main option. If we would be having a straight wind for a straight tailwind or a straight headwind for the second shot going black line, that would be my option. The reason I say it like that, it's because having a straight wind towards the pin is easier to get the ball to drop. If we have a crosswind, we do have a very hard time most of the time to compensate for, you know, the wind push and the secondary bounce and stuff like that. That's why that is important. So have that in mind, then obviously you decide which way you want to play. For me, the black line is the easiest line. We lay up, and here we also play with a quarterback. As you know, we don't really need that much distance for the drive, and we can play with a power 0, 1, 2, 3 ball. All obviously depends on the wind. I would say a power 2 ball like a katana would be perfect here, because I don't really see that we should be needed to spend a kingmaker here, as we don't really need it. Sure, for those of you having a big bunch of kingmakers or titans and have a small amount of katanas, use a power 3 ball instead. Like ball management, you know, you use the one that you have the most of. As I have 400 packs of kingmakers, I have 3 packs of katanas. It's like a no-brainer for me. Then I use a kingmaker, because I don't want to buy katanas eventually, you know. If we do have a tailwind, you know, we can possibly go with a power, let's say what is called from that direction, power slice. And reach the green in 1 according to the white line, but that means that we do need to have at least a 10 mile per hour straight tailwind from the second tee, and from master tee we're gonna have and need a 16 mile per hour minimum to try to get that ball to green. The reason I say that is because we've had that type of wind before, and then we went for the green. 10% extra for the drive, nothing for the second shot, so it's 10%. Once again, if you don't know what elevation is or why we do add that, then you check out the guide for elevation. Master T, we play up to the right. The only reason we play up to the left is, once again, that we do have a better wind from the second shot, or that we do have a straight tailwind and try to go for green. Otherwise, the black line is the most suggested route there to play. Interesting hole though. I see this one to be definitely a possible albatross. And as for hole number 3, an old course with a flat green, and you know, with a flat green, easier time to get it in the hole.
If I can albatross it, you can albatross it.
Yeah. I don't know what to respond to that, but yeah, it's good. Okay, like RGN, the Rudolph ball is gonna cover. He doesn't know that, but he has his head just besides the old Rudolph ball. We have the new winter layout, or I have the winter layout from last year on screen to, kind of like, sure, it's no snow outside, and many of you still have a warm weather, but here in Sweden it's getting cold, so then the Rudolph ball is gonna be here on the screen. So hole number 6, RJ, you mentioned that you aren't, this is not your favorite par 3 in the world. So let me know
Yeah.
how.
Oh God, let you know how to play my least favorite part. Okay, uh, I mean, there probably is one or two that I don't really care for, like that one that's got like the 3 different layers. You never use the top layer. I don't know, but this one's definitely a doozy. It's 20% adjustment, which is very important. Every aspect of this is super important. 20%, and I would bring a Viper. Unless you have a higher level sniper, because you're going to need about 3 to 5 backspin. I would also bring a Quasar, but if you do have it available, since this is a tournament, a Katana would also be an excellent ball to use here. And regardless of whether you're going with the 2 sides or the 2 side spin Quasar or the 3 side spin Katana, I would go with the full right spin. You're going to want to set up about 3 rings to the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the sand. It kind of looks like a 6 there. You're going to be towards the top there, and then your first bounce should be right on or near the fringe. I say this, like, the reason I'm being so technical with this one is because so many people, their ball rolls a little further from them, or they don't adjust the full 20% depending on the wind, and they end up in the sand. You don't want to end up in either spot. Heck, you don't even want to end up with a short wedge shot, because this is not one of those real flat greens. I'm not saying it's bumpy. I'm saying it slopes. And I've had a putt here where I've literally had to overpower it. And as a matter of fact, if you don't put enough backspin on, that's exactly what you're going to have waiting for you.
Yep, and I can just agree with that. This is a very tough par 3 and should be treated carefully. And I would say we play this mostly for the birdie. Obviously, there is a possibility to make a hole-in-one. We will see hole-in-ones, but this has been a course for me that I have been almost always close, but very, very hard to get it dialed in. It's because we have to play this one much out to the left, and we often had to use curl to approach the pin. So when we play from the second tee, we're either going to play with a wood club or we're going to play with a driver. Headwind in any form, we play with the driver. If we have a crosswind or a tailwind, we play with a wood club. Use a Katana or a Kingmaker. I would suggest a Kingmaker when you play in Pro and Expert. I think this is the time to actually spend one, so you reduce the wind. It also gives you side spin 3. Both of those, like wind 3, side spin 3, is actually very valuable here. Then the important part here is to also think about the compressed and the extended ball guideline. If you do have a tailwind, you need to leave the ball guideline very short. And with very short, I mean use around 4 to 5 bars of backspin with the second bounce on the fringe or just before the fringe. So then you're gonna notice that the ball guideline is going to be very short on the green, but that's all thought through, as with a tailwind, the first bounce is going to be longer, the second bounce is going to be longer, and therefore we need to compensate a lot for that. This has always been a course that we do need to compensate a little bit more than we normally do. In a headwind, it's the same, but then we need to go the other direction, obviously. Like, we need to aim past the pin a little bit, because the ball guideline compressed and we're gonna go shorter than expected. But then we're also gonna play with a driver. Master T, we play with a driver all day and every day here. The only thing that I can think of that we do play with a wood club, it would be if we do have like a straight type of tailwind, as the wind is very high in Master. That's gonna put us going into wood club situation. But then I would actually consider using a more less power ball with more wind resistance, so we can play with a driver all the time. Here the rocket actually could be a good club to play with, combined with the normal quarterback. But the rocket in a tailwind for Master T would actually be splendid, as we do get a lot of backspin for the rocket. 20% extra from Master T as well. And we're gonna see what type of wind we're gonna have, because I don't want to go into detail with spin without knowing the wind, as that's going to change so much, once again, depending on the wind. So, we're gonna go over to hole number 4, the last of the par 4s. And here you can see 2 lines where, you know, we have no line that suggests going for the green in 1. And I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna first hear RJ cover what we're gonna do from the front tee.
This is one of those holes. It's kind of like a defining hole. If you can dial something like this in, this is going to separate you from the pack and get you to finish in the top 10, possibly higher, depending on how you're doing on every other hole. It's a 10% adjustment for us rookies. I would like to go with the black line and a quasar. Land on the island where you see the first black box and bounce over to the left fairway using full top spin, full left spin, and 1/2 ball left curl. Now, I am saying full top spin. I know Tommy hates when I say full top spin, but if you look at his text guides, which should be up on your screen right now, he even suggests a big topper. So you know, if you can go with the big topper, you're not going to run out of room with your extra mile in terms of that. And then also, yeah, big topper would work as well, because you want to get up as close to the pin as possible. And that's why you're showing a straight black line at like a 90-degree angle there to the pin. And I would basically like to just say thorn to the pin, maybe a hornet, depending on your likings.
Yes, a second tee, and I'm gonna get into that why I'm not suggesting to actually go for that tiny little island inside that big amount of water that we do have on the top right of the picture of the hole. The reason is that the front end of that pad is sloping down, which means that we are not getting a normal bounce. You're getting a very dead bounce, and it's gonna risk going into the water many of the times. I remember this from the old tournament when we played this one. Tons of players went into the water trying to do a double bounce by using the first black marker spot and then bounce to the little island, then bounce over to the green. Even if they hit the island, they did not get the ball to green, they did die and go into the water. So that made people change their approach in that hole, and that made them to actually play with a full curl shot to the right, or to go with a power slice instead. To go, if you picture the first black marker there, if you move that a little bit further to the other fairway, just before the bunker that you can see there on that fairway, to play on that spot to bounce over towards the green, which in my opinion is a better chance if we're going to try to go for green in 1. And that we only do if we do have a tailwind. Once again, this is a possibility for us to go for green if we do have a tailwind, but I would strongly suggest that you stay away from using the tiny island there to the top right, as that's going to cause more trouble than it's going to help you. Other than that, we have 2 ways, as I said, to play. We have a tailwind, we go for green. If we do have a headwind or we do have a crosswind, we try to gain as much distance as possible and try to reach the spot where you can see the second black marker. Why is it so important to go that far then? It's because of the freaking tree that we do have there to the right. Because if we don't get far enough, or if we not get short enough, like we cannot go in between, then the tree is going to be in our face, and then it's a lost chance for the eagle. Then we can just play for the birdie. Very, very important. But this is, no matter what type of wind, close to be a must eagle in my opinion, as the shot that we do have for the pin is a very good chance for a dunk. It's also a very good chance to just bounce it towards the pin. So if you're gonna be in the top, as RJ mentioned, like a top 10, this kind of needs to be of course that you need to drop something extra on. If you do have a massive headwind from the third tee, then we lay up, we play white line, lay up short, and then we go for pin from distance. That's the only reason we would be using the white line, in my opinion. So, hole number 7 was that, and we go to the last of the par 3s. And this, before we had this one in the last tournament, this was my favorite par 3 because I dropped this one like crazy. But then the last tournament got me really thinking, is it really my favorite par 3? Because I started to miss it again. So like, how do we play hole number 8, the final par 3 in the Monster Marsh Tournament?
I wish it was very simple to put, but I'm going to give you two different clubs, just like the Golden Shot, because depending on headwind or tailwind, we're going to be playing at maximum long iron or minimum wood club. We're looking at 10%. I would bring the Viper or the Goliath. Yes, Goliath, not backbone, nothing else. You want there to be as little as a red zone as possible. And with those two clubs, you should be fine. And I'm also going with the black line where we're going to bounce on the island. It's a very safe shot. I know that fairway looks very small compared to the white line, but you'll notice there's a lot of curl on that white line. And it's very straightforward. Depending, again, on if we have a headwind, we're going to go with a Viper, and if we have a tailwind, we're going to go with the Goliath. Why is that? Well, with the tailwind, we pull it back when we adjust. With the headwind, we push it forward. And with a power one ball, you're not going to have any issues with landing where you don't want to land. I would go with about 1.5 top spin and aim straight for the pin, and that's it. That's how I would play it. It's just make sure you know tailwind. Luckily, the winds don't really change much. As you play from opening, qualifying, and weekend. So you'll know after your first time through. But be prepared by having both of those clubs in your bag.
Yes, and second tee we play with a sniper. Yeah.
I screwed up.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. If you go with a Viper, use a Marlin. If you go with a Goliath, use a Navigator. I'm sorry, Tommy. Go ahead. And that's just to get rid of that little bit of red line that you might be facing.
Good. So, second tee, sniper. And we play with a Navigator. And the reason we play with a sniper and a Navigator is because we're following the black line. We bounce over towards the pin. We're going to be close. And we're sometimes going to get it in the hole. And there is a rough bump here, but the rough bump is very inconsistent. I say that now. Obviously, we can dial that shot in, but it will take time. So I would say play it more safe. Take the birdie with a good chance for an eagle, because playing with the sniper there, according to the black line, is a good chance. 10% extra, don't forget Master T. Here we do want to use a ball with more wind resistance, so we can play with a driver. So a wind 5, power 0 or a power 1 is going to be my best suggestion here, playing with a quarterback. In a headwind we can play with a quarterback even with a power 3 ball. But this, I would say, with a like a crosswind tailwind, this course is going to be very tough if you can only play with power 3 ball. As then we're going to have too much wind and going to go in between clubs. So we'll see what type of wind we're going to have. It's going to be interesting, as I do feel this is a good chance of making a hole-in-one in whatever division, even though it's hard to be consistent, as we do have a lot of, we have a first bounce on the fairway, second bounce on the fairway, then we're going to roll pretty far on the green. But I made a lot of hole-in-ones in this one, so I have good memories with it, even though it wasn't my, best friend the last tournament. So, last but not least, we're gonna go with a very tough par 5 to end up with. I've always seen this to be tough, and I think this is a perfect hole for a tournament, and I'm gonna explain why when it's my turn. But first, RJ, how do we play it from the front tee?
All right. Well, again, 10% is going to be our adjustment. So as you can see, most of our adjustments are 10% with a 20% thrown in twice. I would go with the extra mile and a Titan, full top spin, full right spin, and just a tiny bit of OP with the white line. And then follow that up with a Viper shot with no spin to the pin. However, if you're either not comfortable with putting any overpower on your extra mile, maybe because it's a lower level and you don't have the accuracy that you'd like to have, or in the case of a wind blowing in our face, then I would say bring the quarterback and lay up. However, if you're bringing the quarterback and you're laying up, you're definitely going to want to bring the big dog, not only for the distance, but also because it does have more topspin. Because your drive's not going to go as far, you're going to need to make that up. Either way you go, I would go with a power 3 ball.
Yes, and here from Pro and Expertise, going to be a power 3 ball as well. 10% extra, very important. And if we do have a crosswind or a tailwind, we are going to play over to the left side, the white line. Bouncing over the water, trying to gain as much distance possible. Second shot, long iron or a wood club towards the pin with no elevation added. So, if you do have an extra mile level 7 or below, or you maybe have a very low level Thor's hammer, then you're gonna have only 4.5 bar topspin as maximum. Then you have a decision to make. You can either try to manage to play the drive on the right hand side, or you go with more overpower trying to reach over, or you use a ball that gives you power 4 instead, so you don't have to use that much overpower. But I want to mention that as playing with an extra mile level 7 compared to an extra mile level 8, with that difference in topspin especially, is a big advantage for an extra mile level 8 player, and also for those playing with higher level clubs in Pro and Expert. And higher level clubs, Apocalypse 5, 6, 7, Thor's Hammer 6, 7, and stuff like that. If we do have a headwind, we cannot, or let's say like this, we should not try to get over the water on the left. Then we need to find a spot playing on the right side. And there I would say play with a driver that gives you distance still, even though the quarterback could be a club. But in headwind, we're most likely going to have to overpower that club as well. Then we're trying to gain as much distance on the fairway there. Stay away from the bunker, stay away from the rough. It looks very tiny, that the amount of fairway that we're having the possibility to use. But there is actually a decent amount of room to play there on the left hand side of the bunker. Second shot, I would then play with the big dog or the cataclysm to give myself the distance, because headwind for the first shot is going to be headwind for the second shot as well. So then we need to have a club that gives us distance for that. Third tee, if we do have a headwind in any form, we play right side. That would also be for a straight crosswind. But if we have a tailwind in any form, then we play left hand side, play the white line to get over. And I would say, with the skill level in Master especially, there is definitely a very good chance, if you can reach over on the left, to dial the shot in for the Albatross. But if we have to play on the right side, there is a way to actually shoot in between the trees, to bounce over the rough in between the trees and going towards the pin from distance with a good chance. But there it is, where you cannot really hit great left or great right, where you risk then to clip the tree, and then you're gonna instead struggle for just saving the eagle instead of getting the Albatross. So I like this hole, and I'm gonna get back to that now. I really enjoy this hole, as we have a tough drive, but if we manage the tough drive, we have a good chance actually getting an extra drop or like an Albatross on this hole. And that's how I think par 5 should be, with a very tough drive, which could be rewarded with a good chance from distance. And the good chance from distance is with a wood club, not with a wedge or with a short iron, for an example. 10% extra for the drive, no matter what side you're playing on. 0, so nothing extra for the second shot. Yes, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, and we are hopefully soon ready to be playing the Monster Marsh Tournament, starting the 14th of October. And I'm going to be live directly in the morning, playing all the divisions that we're gonna have. Gonna give you the advice, suggestions, and also, I can't wait to be back streaming again. It was a long time ago, so I'm looking forward to that. Also playthroughs coming out on a Monday and also Tuesday. I will be adding 2 different playthroughs, especially for Pro, where I'm gonna play with a bag with lower level clubs, where I'm gonna have like extra mile level 5, level 6, and I'm gonna have like a sniper level 4, level 5, and you know, lower level clubs for those of you that are just dipping your toes into pro, and I want to be able to provide that type of content, and obviously the normal playthrough for pro as well, for those maybe using power 3 balls, maybe you have a little bit stronger clubs and stuff like that. Otherwise the other divisions will be normal and the same as usual. RJ, how is the streaming schedule? Is it 7 p.m.?
Yes, 7 p.m. every day except Monday. I usually I have something going on. Not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to stream on Monday, or if I am, it's going to be later, probably by about 2 or 3 hours.
Awesome. And for those of you that are watching the channel, we will have another streamer on the channel during the week as well. Terry Lyle, a good friend of mine, also a member of Team Tommy. He's going to stream some Rookie Pro Expert, obviously not when I'm streaming. So he's going to stream here on the channel, actually. So you can find, you will be able to actually watch even more content. And Terry, high level player, and has gold in even a Master Division as well. So check him out. You can find more information about that obviously on the team page. But last but not least, everybody, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit thumbs up on the video if you liked it, and let us know in the comments if there is any questions. So RJ, you get the possibility to end up as normal, especially now when we both have blue shirts, which is awesome. So yeah, how do we end it here on the channel?
Happy stroking.
Happy stroking, guys. Bye.